Carly Barton joins me now. So when was it that you received, or it was legally you were given the go-ahead? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. The prescription was written in December, sort of early on in December, and yeah, we are still waiting for it. I have heard that it is in the country,
right?
But it's been quite a battle to try and carve a path, really, to get access.
You still don't know when you'll get the drug?
No. It could be this week. We're hopeful.
Yes.
But there's a lot of hurdles that have been put in place, and not a lot of solutions offered. Leaving many patients in quite a desperate situation at the minute.
If you don't mind my asking, what is your condition, and what do you hope, or what do you expect the cannabis to do for you?
So I had a stroke in my 20s, and that left me with chronic nerve pain, and I was diagnosed on the back of that with fibromyalgia. I spent 4 or 5 years on very, very heavy opiates, being fentanyl and morphine, and we're still in, a massive amount of pain. And it wasn't until I tried cannabis that I managed to get real control of my life and real control of my pain, and my symptom management is much better. And I had been sourcing that, and I still am sourcing that to this day on the black market,
right.
Which I could do a lot.
So you take, for want of a better expression, you take the regular cannabis, or the drug cannabis, for want of a better expression, not medicinal cannabis.
Well, so, I would argue that there isn't really much in the way of difference.
Okay.
Apart from the fact that street cannabis, is more associated with high THC, because of the medical needs of the patients, these 1.1 million patients that are currently sourcing on the black market, the black market has had to step up and has had to offer a variety of strains, and I would argue that black market's flourishing with medical cannabis at the minute.
Did you say they reckon about 1.1 million people, did you say, use it?
Yes, for medicinal purposes, just in the UK.
And I would imagine that number is rising as more and more people get to hear about it and have situations and conditions similar to your own, Carly. More and more people are using it.
Absolutely, and just like Max, there are kids out there that are really struggling,
yes,
and that would really, really benefit from this medicine.
Poor Max, he does look in a bad way, that lad, doesn't he, young Max?
Yes, and it isn't a rare story. His is not a one-off story. There are kids in hospitals across the UK at the moment that are really struggling, despite the law change, they are unable. The specialists are unable to prescribe these medicines because of how tightly wound these guidelines are. It's really tied specialist hands behind their back.
Carly, I do wish you well. And I note from the article it was December the 2nd that you got this. You still don't have the drugs, and we're lumbering towards the end of January. It's quite incredible. Carly Barton is the first person to be described medical cannabis, but still not yet got it. To Professor Mike Barnes, who's a consultant neurologist and an expert in rehabilitation medicine, can you explain what medicinal cannabis does for the patient? Professor, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Well, it's a remarkable medicine, really. It does a whole variety of things. That's because it interacts with our own body's cannabis system, if you like, called the endocannabinoid system. And what that does is a whole range of things from the nervous system. It helps memory, it helps motor control, that's walking and such like. It improves anxiety. It has effect on the bowels and the bladder. A whole range of things. And medical cannabis has 2 main components. THC, which is the one that gets you the high, but it has medical properties in its own right, and CBD, which is the one that doesn't get you high, but also has medical properties, and people respond to different balances between those 2 main components to help their condition.
Are you disappointed or surprised the young woman with whom I was just speaking has had the prescription but hasn't got the drug?
Well, disappointed, clearly. Since the law changed on the 1st of November, as far as I'm aware, there's not one single NHS prescription that's been written, because Carly sadly had to go through a private medicine system. So the medical profession is remarkably cautious and conservative about this, understandably in many ways, because they don't know about cannabis, they don't know what to prescribe and what dose to use and such like. So we urgently need educational programs alongside this change in the law. And the problem of Carly has had is a reflection of there's no supply in the country. And there's no supply in the country because doctors aren't yet prescribing. So that will ease once doctors are more confident about prescribing, which will, I'm afraid, be slow, because we are restricted, as Carly said, by these rather rigid guidelines that have come out from medical bodies.
And to those who say this will lead to more drug use, more drugs on the streets, how would you respond?
Well, that's absolutely not the case. And we know now from the sort of controlled trials that are going on in the States, in the sense that some American states are legalized for medical cannabis and some aren't. And we know that in those states that are legalized, there's no increase in drug use compared to the states that aren't.
I'm grateful for your time. Mike Barnes, thank you. You're Professor, Consultant Neurologist and Expert in that field. The music means we must move on. The conversation continues. It is reported.